My name is Ken Meter, and I'm director of Crossroads Resource Center in Minneapolis. And I've really been working for about 37 years looking at how do we make communities stronger, especially in low-income areas, inner city areas, and in farm country.
So tell me about a strong food system. What makes something a strong food system, and how does that contribute to a community's health or the economy?
Well, to me, a food system is really the whole set of relationships we have that gets us from a farm like this to food at our tables. And it really involves so many players. It involves, obviously, fresh air and good soil and clean water and all the things we need to produce a crop well. It also includes all the people who handle and process and distribute the food to get it to our table, to get it to restaurants or hospitals or schools. And it's a very complex set of relationships, but in my mind, what a food system ought to do and what a strong one would accomplish is to really give us very healthy food that we know the source of. And it should help us build wealth in our communities. It should also help us connect with each other as people who learn about what farmers do and learn what consumers need and learn about what each other has to have to work well in a system. And also, in my mind, it should really help us know the skills and the capacities we need to really handle food safely, to cook it adequately, to create lovely meals and have good aesthetic experience while we dine.
So people talk a lot about going back to the way it used to be done, but as you point out, we've never had local food systems before. We've had local food, but mostly those farmers were growing food to export it. So talk to me about our current food system as it exists today, and sort of how is that different from pre-World War II, for example?
Okay, good. Actually, we're standing here across the river from Clark County, Washington, and I did a little analysis there for a speech I gave in Vancouver in January. And we found out that 10% of all the land in Clark County in 1930 was dedicated to farm families raising food for themselves. Now, that was a local food system, but it really involved farm families working very hard in gardens against great odds to produce lots of stuff they could preserve and put in the cellar and use later in the year. But that was really their main source of food, was just whatever they could raise for themselves, and then they would also work to sell some product they could sell to a commodity market. It might be wheat, it might be milk, it might be livestock. But the farmer at that point in 1930 had a choice of saying, do I want to use my land to raise food for myself, for my own family? Do I want to sell it to a market? And that's really been kind of the classic story for farmers in the United States, that from the word go, Virginia was settled as a place to export tobacco to England. And we've always had this mentality that food is about selling it to somebody else at a high price. And often the people selling those commodities, whether it was wheat to export abroad or whether it was corn to export, didn't get paid very well for that, but it was the way of getting some cash that they could use to expand their farm or have a better life. And at the same time, for most American history, farmers could choose whether to do that or to really pull out of the market and raise food for themselves. I think around 1960, farm families started buying into the notion that it really wasn't effective use of their time to raise their own food. And a lot of consumers started really wanting to have good foods from Europe, some nice delicacies that were hard to raise in the Midwest where I come from or from the Oregon area. And we sort of got convinced that we could do more by relating with the market than by really planning local food systems that would work well for the people who are raising food, for the farm workers who work in the fields, for those of us who eat. We've had local food systems, but they were always sort of something we built hoping that someday we'd make a lot of money shipping our products away. And so instead of planning and saying we're going to really make sure we have enough acreage to feed ourselves, instead of saying we're going to make sure that farmers really get paid well for raising food for our local market, instead of saying we're going to guarantee that farm workers have a fair shake when they do backbreaking work in the field, we pretty much said you're on your own, and if you can find some good deal, you might be able to sell a lot of commodities and make a lot of money. If you don't do that, you'll probably get out of farming. And that mentality has worked quite a long time for us now. And I think in about 1970, in the 1970s, that mentality sort of caught up with us, and we started really shipping more and more money out of farm country and losing more and more power over the choices that we need to make day to day to be good eaters, to be good farmers, to be good processors. And I think since then, people have just sort of taken they've summed up the toll of that loss, and they've started to say, I really want to know the farmer who raised my food. I want to know that the person who's cooking for me really is doing tasty food in a way that's really healthy. I want to have more of those skills back that I know people did have, because we knew how to produce food and process it in our homes before. We've lost those skills. We lose 5,000 people a year to food poisoning because our consumers don't really know all the time how to take care of food in the proper way. And so I really see this incredible movement that I get to sort of help shape and meet around the United States, where folks are saying we'd like to have real experience around food. We'd like to know that our food is good. We'd like to feel that the people in that system are treated well. And we want it to be a good connecting experience instead of something that's just done for profit.